Hello, welcome to this palette tutorial on how to palletize part of a model. My name is Clark. Um, I'll be showing you how to do stuff today. So this is the model we're going to start with. It's just a very simple test model. A couple of things to note before we start. The palette file, which will be given to you by Mark or Norfolk, is essentially a file that holds either a solid color or a multitude of colors on the same line. Now, what this allows you to do is create variants within your buildings. So you can use the same building, but have different color variances in the roof. So when you're placing it multiple times across the map, it doesn't look like it's just a copy and paste. So within the palette file itself, you'll notice there is a black solid line. This is where Orbic's palettes start. Do not touch anything above this line. Do not adjust any colors or anything like that. You can use the lines above, but please do not change the colors because ED do use from 0 to 31. Okay, so as we said, this is the model. So we've got all the UV set up. So UV2, which is obviously the scale textures for the brick. UV3, which is the dirt, the dirt coverage or the dirt texture. And UV4, which is the mask, which depicts where the dirt can go. So in order to sort of palletize your model, what I would personally do is get your model to a point where it's still one continuous model, i.e. not multiple parts. So it's just one model. Then I would duplicate that to create the LOD1. 2 seconds. Let's just unhide that. So we've got the LOD1 there, which is, it's same thing again. It's the same model. We can hide that now. So we'll bring up Photoshop and we will load in our mask. So this is a very simplistic mask that we've created. So if you notice on the channels, there is no alpha channel. So the way the palette works is that you specify which faces that you want to be able to palletize on an alpha channel. So black means you can't palletize something, and sorry, white means you can't palletize something, and black means you can palletize something. So the easiest way to do stuff, because essentially each object is palletized as an object, not separate faces. So what we'll do is we'll go into polygon mode and we'll select maybe that face, that, and maybe those ones. Okay, and what we'll do, we'll just go detach as a separate object, and we'll call this blue underscore P. I always tend to give the underscore P to the model because it sort of signifies quickly at a first look that you've actually palletized this object. So now you can see we've got two parts. So if we drag that back under the dummy, so we've got two parts. Next, what we need to do is highlight those UVs from UV channel 1, which is just the one that you would take into Substance Painter and do your dirt mask on. We need to grab those and just highlight those. So the simplest way to do that is just to select the blue P, apply a UV modifier and open your editor. Just go, as you can see, we've got them selected there. You don't have to select them, but yeah. So render to UVW texture, 1024, 1024, render. And this just gives us a render of the UVs. And we'll just save this into the model folder. Orbix house test, and we'll just call this blue underscore p underscore uv. We'll save it as a PNG and we'll click save. Okay. Now we don't care about that now. So we can just close that, collapse that. So if we go back to our palette file itself within Photoshop and we drag in the blue UVP file and then just press enter. If you go to the selection, the magic wand, and just select somewhere other than the visible UVs, and then press left control, left shift I, it inverts the selection. So now we have our selection. We don't care about that layer now, so we can delete it. We'll add a default mask. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, black means palette. You can use palette. White means not. So because we are going to palletize this, just this section here, just this selection, so we'll make that white. So we'll fill it with white. Then we'll do Control D to deselect, then Control I to invert. So as you can see now, we have basically told the mask on the alpha channel that all of this geometry here, or these UVs that you can't see, cannot be palletized, but these slithers can be. So if we save our mask and then go into the editor and launch the SUP4 editor, you'll see nothing's essentially happened. Now the reason for that is that we need to assign some object properties to this. So if we come across here and we'll select, we'll just select the ball and we'll go into set model properties. Okay, so we'll go to set the standard values. Don't worry if your screen goes black, that's by design. So we'll just put 1024. Okay, so now we come to assigning the standard, standard stuff which you've probably already done. Building, use normal map. We'll come back to that one in a second. We'll do the same for here. V-Ray house 5.1, building, use normal map. Okay, so if we come back to here, we've got the option of use palette and then use palette V. So use palette V basically corresponds to the line that you have in your Photoshop file. So if we go back to the Photoshop palettes file, you can see if we just zoom in and then have the rulers on, you can work out which line that you want. So I've created this line just as a temporary example. So this is line 33. So if we go to line, or set this to line 33 and then close the editor. When I select this now and then go into the SUP4 editor, you'll see that we have a palletized version of those faces. Now, it will cycle through once you've got the model. There we go. So it'll just alternate all of the colors within your palette file. That's a simple way of seeing whether my palette's working. If you're in the editor here and the colors cycle. So just as another example, you can come in here, go back into the set model properties. We can go into Photoshop, and just an example, we can choose maybe this line here. So that line is line 5. So we'll just go and change this to line 5. Then close that. And now if we come in here and go into the SUP4 editor, you can see because we have colors that are a lot more colors on the same line, it will just alternate each color. Okay. So that's essentially how to do a palette on a LOD0 object. So what we'll do now, we will go through and just configure LOD1 to be palletized. Pretty simple, to be fair. There are some caveats with regards to models. So this model here has got to be slightly bigger than LOD 0. And again, if you had a LOD 2 has to be bigger than slightly bigger than LOD 1. So the way I do that within 3D Studio Max is I just apply a push modifier. So if you just apply a push modifier and stick a relatively low value on 009 and then just collapse it, then all you actually essentially have to do is go into the object properties for, say, LOD1 and give it the standard values or whatever values you deem fit. Um, okay, and we'll just give these, and we'll make this texture 512. Okay, all you have to do on this one, after you've obviously select LOD, V-Ray House LOD 5.1, building, set the LOD value. We don't want any of this apart from use palette. So you don't tick the palette line, you just have on your LODs, use palette. That's it. So essentially when you generate your LODs within the TDK, it will know that it has to apply a mask to those faces and generate the corresponding file. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching.